3 weeks in, and they already had a key to your apartment. You didn't think it was too soon because they'd been sleeping over every single night anyway. And the way they looked at you, like you were the only person who'd ever mattered, how could something that felt so right be wrong? Here's what nobody tells you about the most dangerous form of manipulation. It doesn't feel like manipulation at all. It feels like finally being loved the way you always deserved. Tonight, we're exploring how your own brain chemistry becomes a weapon against you. And the twist? The very feelings that convince you this person is perfect are the same ones that trap you when everything falls apart. Let's start somewhere unexpected, not with romance, but with cults. In the 1970s, researchers studying the Unification Church noticed something disturbing. New recruits weren't being slowly convinced through logic or doctrine. They were being flooded. Members would surround a newcomer with warmth, physical touch, and undivided attention. The church members themselves named this tactic love bombing. By 1996, psychology professor Margaret Singer documented this in her book Cults in Our Midst. The strategy worked, Singer observed, because it offered instant companionship, meeting a fundamental human need. But the love wasn't real, it was strategic. Once the recruit was hooked, the dynamic shifted toward control. Now here's the darker turn. That same pattern, refined in cult recruitment, found its way into romantic relationships, and it works even better one-on-one. Your brain can't distinguish between genuine love and manufactured intensity. Research using functional MRI scans has shown that romantic love activates the ventral tegmental area and caudate nucleus, regions rich in dopamine. These are the exact pathways that respond to cocaine and gambling. In the early 2000s, researchers found that people viewing photos of romantic partners experienced dopamine surges, spiked cortisol, and dropped serotonin, creating obsessive thoughts and racing hearts. This suggests that falling in love creates a neurochemical state remarkably similar to addiction. Love bombers exploit this vulnerability with precision. But here's what makes this particularly insidious. A 2017 study by researchers Claire Strutzenberg and Jacqueline Wiersma-Mosley surveyed 484 college students and revealed something unexpected. Love bombers themselves often have low self-esteem and insecure attachment styles. Based on these findings, we can infer that many aren't calculating predators. They're deeply insecure individuals using excessive affection to regulate their own self-worth through another person's dependency. This could mean the person showering you with attention genuinely believes they're in love, but the outcome remains the same. Control through manufactured intensity. The pattern unfolds in three phases. First, idealization. You're perfect. They're soulmate. The texts never stop. They want to move in after 2 weeks, talk marriage before your first disagreement. When you try to slow things down, they become hurt or sullen, making you feel guilty for not matching their intensity. Red flags hide in plain sight. Constant check-ins feel like devotion until you can't go 2 hours without a text. Wanting to spend every moment together seems romantic until you haven't seen your friends in weeks. Grand gestures appear generous until you recognize they're isolating you, creating a world where only the two of you exist. Then comes devaluation. Once you're invested, once your brain craves those dopamine hits, they shift. They seem distracted, less affectionate. They criticize your appearance, your choices, your friends. When you express hurt, they gaslight you, insisting you're too sensitive, remembering things wrong. Here's where neurochemistry becomes a trap. Psychologists Donald Dutton and Susan Painter, studying abusive relationships in the 1990s, discovered something counterintuitive. Strong emotional bonds don't form through consistent kindness. They form through intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable cycles of punishment and reward. Think about slot machines. They don't pay out every time, and that's what makes them addictive. Love-bombing relationships operate identically. After days of coldness, they suddenly become sweet again, offering just enough affection to rekindle hope. That hit of relief feels even more powerful because you've been deprived. This creates a trauma bond. Stress hormones during conflict, followed by dopamine during reconciliation, generate a pattern that resembles addiction. This evidence suggests that leaving can trigger genuine withdrawal symptoms as your brain interprets separation as losing a primary source of reward. The final phase is discard. When you establish boundaries, many love bombers walk away. Others engage in hoovering, pulling you back in with renewed promises, restarting the cycle. But here's the revelation that changes everything. Recognizing this pattern doesn't make you immune. Even therapists who study manipulation can fall victim because it targets something universal: the human need to be cherished. Protection comes from attention to pace and boundaries. Healthy love unfolds gradually. It welcomes your other relationships rather than competing with them. It remains consistent. The person who adores you Tuesday doesn't grow cold by Thursday unless something genuine has changed. If you've experienced love bombing, recovery involves reconnecting with yourself and your support system. Trauma-informed therapy helps untangle the confusion. Friends and family offer perspective impossible to maintain from inside the dynamic. Understanding that being manipulated reflects someone else's dysfunction, not your weakness, allows the self-compassion necessary to heal. Real love doesn't have to convince you it's real. It doesn't rush. It doesn't demand you abandon yourself to prove commitment. It doesn't create anxiety while claiming to offer security. Love bombing thrives on intensity, but authentic connection deepens in stillness. If this helped you see something more clearly, consider subscribing and sharing. Until next time, remember that you deserve love that feels like coming home, not like drowning in affection that might vanish at any moment.